Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Alvan Kaunfer, Rabbi Emeritus of Temple Emmanuel in Providence, Rhode Island. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us. And you are also an instructor
at Hebrew College
Hebrew
in their
College.
pinnacle school in education.
Right. And our parsha is Tetzaveh. It's a challenging parsha. This parsha begins with olive oil and the lighting of the menorah at the temple. It then deals with details of the priestly garments to be worn by the Kohanim while serving in the sanctuary, some of which are the kutonet, a full-length linen tunic, michnasaim, linen breeches, mitznefet or migbat, a linen turban, the avnet, a long sash wound above the waist, and the garment of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, the ephod, an apron-like garment made of blue, purple, and red dyed wool, linen, and gold thread, the choshen, a breastplate containing 12 precious stones inscribed with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. We have the me'il, a cloak of blue wool with gold bells, and we have the tzitz, a golden plate worn on the forehead and bearing the inscription, Holy to God. The first pasuk of this parsha says, ואתה תצווה את בני ישראל ויקחו אליך שמן זית זך, כתית למאור להעלות נר תמיד, and you shall command the children of Israel, and they shall take you to pure olive oil, crushed for lighting, to kindle the lamps continually. So let me begin with this, Rabbi. Is there any connection between these two parts of the parsha? The menorah on the one hand, the garments, the clothes of the Kohanim, the priest, on the other hand?
I think it's interesting, these parashiot that have such great detail are indeed difficult to find deeper meaning, but I think actually in the connection of those two pieces of this week's parasha, there may be a meaning that we can derive in our personal and greater Jewish lives. First of all, the idea of light and the Ner Tamid, what we've interpreted later as the perpetual light of the sanctuary, and its connection to the olive oil. There is a wonderful midrash, an interpretation of the rabbis, that plays upon the idea of the light and the idea of mitzvah. There's a line in Proverbs of ner mitzvah v'torah or.
Right.
A mitzvah is like a light, is like a lamp, and the Torah is like a light. And what they say is that when a person performs a mitzvah, it's like lighting a light before God. And the way I understand that is whether you have a traditional theology or not a traditional theology, there's some idea of when you do a mitzvah, something obligated, something real, an important deed in the world, it's fulfilling some higher plane commandment or some higher plane value in the world. And there's actually a second version of this, which is fascinating, in which there's a supposed dialogue between God and the people of Israel. And the people of Israel are compared to the olive oil, and God is compared to the lamp. And God says, I cannot shine without you, and you cannot shine without me, because the olive oil is not able to burn without the lamp, and the lamp is not able to burn without the olive oil. So let us come together and light up the world. And I think that's also, for me, a deeper meaning of this, that in doing deeds in the world, important things in the world, it's like combining with God in some way and bringing some type of higher quality to the life that we live and the world that we inhabit.
And moving from this to the very detailed discussion of garment, which one can find almost annoying. These priests with their dandy garments, walking around. Why do we need all these things to
All these
co- to
details.
to connect with God?
What was interesting to me is that there's another story of garments at the very beginning of the Torah, which is, if you remember, when Adam and Eve are exiled from the Garden of Eden, God creates for them clothes of ore with an ayin in Hebrew, meaning clothes of skin, clothes of leather. But Rabbi Meir, in his version of the Torah, it was written garments of ore with an aleph,
Oh,
garments of light. And I think there's some intentional conversation, let's say, between the clothing of the high priest here, which focuses on the colors of white and blue being a reflection of the sky, and white being the purest kind of light color.
well, and gold for the high
And
priest.
gold, maybe also in this context reflecting a kind of higher, a deeper quality of light.
Right.
So I think that actually in putting those two together, there was maybe some intentional reflection, if I can use the metaphor, of one on the other, and that the idea of everyone from Adam and Eve, from our origins, has the possibility of having some type of inner quality or clothing of light in some symbolic sense that is represented by the clothing of the high priest that focuses on the white, on the blue of the sky, on the gold, reflecting that kind of inner light. And so that was what I saw as a kind of connection between those. It's all about the inner light that we can shine in some way in the world, fulfilling, again, in a traditional way, God's purposes, or in some kind of, not necessarily theological way, some type of higher purpose for our lives in the world.
Do we also need the garments to separate the Kohanim from the regular folks who come to the tabernacle or later to Beit HaMikdash, to the temple?
I think that's also interesting on another level, their garments. Certainly in the biblical context, the Kohanim represent some higher level of Kedusha, of holiness. But it's interesting that techelet, that very characteristic blue, the sky blue, the blue of the ocean, is carried in a democratic way by having one thread for every Israelite. When we wear a talit, and some people have revived this in the modern world, there's a thread of blue. So on the one hand, as you said, the priests represent some separate, maybe higher class, but on the other hand, every Israelite, every Jew is able to wear one thread of that priestly garment that we remember, and I do revive in my own talit a thread of blue to remember that every Israelite, every Jew has a little piece of that priestly holy garment in their own garment.
Right. And wondering about our current understanding of Judaism, I thinking about the menorah is still a visible symbol in Judaism today, while the garments of the priests are pretty much forgotten by most Jews today. We don't think about them as a significant symbol of Judaism. Why is that?
Well, I think historically it's probably interesting because when you look at the pageantry of the Pope, the Catholic Church took
Right.
over the garments of the high priest. And as with many other things, when Christianity emphasized certain things, I think Judaism kind of backed off from them. Aside from the fact that we don't really have that kind of priestly class in modern Judaism. And as I said, to me, the very nice thing is the talit, with its thread of blue, has become a kind of democratic diffusion of the garments of the high priest that we can all wear. So we all have, as it says in Shemot, we're all a kind of kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So we have a little bit of that garment of the high priest in what we wear today.
Rabbi, thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for the opportunity.